Well, it seems like the Earth is going to be splitting into half. Scientists have announced that Africa is splitting in two halves.
The map of our world is about to change. I'm talking about the continent of Africa splitting into two. An entirely new ocean could emerge in the African continent.
Well, it seems like the situation is much more serious than what we've been expecting. Now, the crack started in 2018 when Africa started splitting in two halves.
Giant
take a look at this
in the
one.
earth opened up almost overnight, 50 feet deep and at its widest 65 feet across, slicing through a highway and terrifying many who live in this area just west of Nairobi, Kenya. So what caused it? Well, it depends on what scientist you ask.
So it basically seems like whole land just cracked into like two halves. And we just got some latest reports from scientists who have now stated that the cracks are growing in much faster pace than what they have already recorded in 2018. And the new research actually shows that it's going to be happening much sooner than what they've expected before. Now, in January, we got another report where it seems like a volcano is erupting. And this is basically how it looks. This is literally coming out of the earth that just split up. Can you imagine volcanoes being formed out of the cracks of earth? It's going to be super terrifying, man. Imagine if you lived here and your house was right beneath this crack and the last thing you want to see is a volcano eruption. And that is crazy. This is what's going on right now in Africa, and nobody's talking about it. And that's... I don't know what he's talking, but it seems like he's scared. That's all I know. We also got another footage here. Oh, this man's chilling. Oh, look at that. He's chilling. What is that? I think that's like the volcanic smoke coming out of the earth. Dude, that is terrifying. What are you doing, dude? Get out of there. Oh my god. That is one hell of a place to be in. I honestly don't know what this dude is up to. Oh my goodness. You gotta get out of there, dude. I think they're probably praying, right? What are you guys doing? I wish I could understand. Oh my god, it's splitting up. It's moving. I don't know, guys, but it seems like whatever they're trying to do, it's really not helping. What are you screaming? Are you screaming at the volcano? I don't know whatever is going on, but it definitely seems like those people are screaming at the volcano. And honestly, man, this is one of the most terrifying things to notice as of now, because Earth's splitting into half and it just looks like this. And out of a sudden, in 2024, you see volcanoes erupting out of these cracks. That's like the last thing you want to see after Earth splits in half.
A massive crack in the ground that's estimated to be up to 50 feet deep has opened up in Kenya seemingly overnight. The crack stretches along Kenya's Great Rift Valley, and many scientists believe it could end up splitting the continent apart.
So this is how it looked like before? Like there was no volcano or something like that. But right now, the same location, it's like filled with volcanic eruption. There's like fire beneath it. I'm just guessing that Earth's core is like getting messed up right now. It's getting weakened like we have seen in the previous reports. And that's scary, man.
Imagine waking up one morning to find a massive crack running through your home.
Oh, I don't want to wake up to that.
Jaguna, forced to dismantle his house by hand before it was lost to the earth below. He lives in Mai Mahiu, part of the Great Rift Valley in Kenya, a region that has already provided a treasure trove of some of the most important archaeological finds in history. And this
Imagine very soon this whole split is going to belong to another country, probably to India. That's just crazy how an entire country is going to be splitting apart, becoming a country of its own.
Africa is slowly splitting into two landmasses due to tectonic activity. This process is happening along the East African Rift, a geological feature where the African plate is dividing into two smaller plates, the Somali Plate and the Nubian Plate. The East African Rift Valley stretches over 3,000 kilometers or
wow, look at this whole place just completely getting split right now.
2,800 miles from Ethiopia down to Mozambique.
So this is the part which is completely breaking down, right? All this whole entire line that's been drawn, this entire part of Africa is going to be like completely broken down, including Ethiopia, which is going to break down into half.
It's part of a divergent boundary where the Earth's tectonic plates are moving away from each other. The rift is being caused by the movement of the Nubian Plate, most of Africa, and the Somali Plate, which is breaking away. As these plates move apart, the Earth's crust thins and can lead to volcanic activity and the formation of new ocean basins.
Look at the whole crack
Evidence
that's formed.
of this rifting process
Damn.
includes the presence of large cracks in the ground, such as the one that appeared in Kenya in 2018.
That is massive, dude. And just take a look at this gas station over here, which is present in the highway, and it's completely split in half. It just looks like some sort of a movie set or something.
Most people are unaware that Africa is about to be divided into two by a new ocean, altering the destinies of millions.
It's going to
in
form
Ethiopia,
a new ocean.
A massive crack stretching for 50 kilometers has emerged due to tectonic plates pulling.
So this is actually the old news, right? Like we only had like 50 kilometers that's been cracked down. But now it seems like the scientists have reported that the crack has gone even more bigger, that the plane has basically cracked much more than 50 kilometers. We don't know the exact numbers as of now.
This crack is expected to widen over time, eventually completely splitting Africa into two. Click to follow and continue watching. Between the divided land masses, a paradise for marine life will emerge as a new ocean forms. Simultaneously, countries like Rwanda, Uganda, Burundi, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo will have their own coastlines, facilitating maritime transportation. However, countries such as Somalia and Ethiopia will face dire consequences as their territories are torn apart.
Like, just imagine your country is basically being split in half and you have no control of that stuff. You just have to give it up to Mother Nature because none of that is going to be in our control. So, and whichever other country it's going to be landing in is going to own the entire part of this plane. And as of now, it seems like it's going to be India, in which all of this landmass is going to be landing in. Now, I actually came across this Twitter page where they give us a full explanation as to what kind of a destruction or good stuff is going to be coming out of this. Take a look at this stuff.
Africa is gradually splitting into two parts. The Nubian and Somali plates are separating. This process is very slow, but its impact is going to be felt on our Earth as well. If the Somalian plates move towards India, its impact will not be limited to Africa only. There will be a terrible collision on the western coast of India. And just imagine, because of this collision, mountains higher than the Himalayas will rise.
Mountains higher than Himalayas, and the worst part is that it's going to be way bigger than the current biggest peak of the world, Himalayan mountains itself,
which we can call Somalian mountains. Now you think about all the cities situated on the seaside like Mumbai, Gujarat, Goa, Kerala.
They're going to get destroyed.
Warm and green coastal areas can turn into icy deserts. The temperature could drop from 30 degrees Celsius to 0 degrees. Just like millions of years ago, when the Indian plate collided with Asia and the Himalayas were formed.
Wait, is that how Himalayas were formed? I just found this video which explains on how Himalayas were found. Oh, damn. So that's basically how the Himalayas were formed, like both the planes just collided together? Oh my goodness. That is actually crazy. So recently on August 28th, we actually got a new update from African Fact Zone, who have now given us some more information about the whole big crack that just opened up. Well, it seems like these places named Rwanda, Uganda, Burundi, DR, Congo, and so many different places. It's really hard to spell them. So apparently the plates are diverging by 7 millimeters every year. And this thing currently has been estimated that it's going to be completely splitting Africa into two halves halves in the next 5 to 10 million years. And I do understand that 5 to 10 million years is actually pretty long, but you need to understand that back in 2018, they announced that it's going to take about 50 to 100 million years. But right now, after the latest research, it seems like the timing for Africa to split has already come down from 50 to 100 million years all the way to the next 5 to 10 million years. Now, we don't really know what's going to be happening as we move further on in years. Maybe it's not even going to be 5 to 10 million years anymore. It could happen even much faster than what we've expected. And this is the current situation of what's going on in Africa. As you can see, this is the one highway which they seem to have repaired in order to run vehicles from one place to another. But eventually, this whole portion is going to be split out and it's going to be heading towards India. And obviously, we're going to ask Superman for help.
We're seeing a crack that in all likelihood formed over many thousands of years or hundreds of thousands of years.
Some scientists, including Ben Andrews, a geologist with the Smithsonian, believe the crack was recently exposed by a rainstorm. But he says it was created by movement of the Earth's tectonic plates, sections of the Earth's crust that move about 1 inch a year.
Africa is splitting in two. And here's how. Millions of years ago, the world looked completely different. All the continents we know today were once part of a single massive supercontinent called Pangaea.
So when the Earth was created by God, does this mean that everything was just like one part, and then over time there was like all this heavy rain or storm or whatever it was, they just split apart, and now it's being ruled by all different leaders and nations and all that stuff?
To break apart. And why is it happening again? You see, Africa sits on two tectonic plates, the African plate and the Somali plate. These plates are slowly pulling away from each other, creating dramatic changes over time.
Wow.
But who all will be affected, and how soon? Well, this split, known as the East African Rift, stretches over 6,000 kilometers from Ethiopia to Mozambique. And in Ethiopia's Afar region, massive cracks have already...
Look at that. People have already built bridges in order to cross over from one region to another. And now it seems like this is where the volcanoes are coming out of. It's going to be a tough call, even when you're trying to cross the path. All of the bridges that they've built so far, it's going to break down and there are going to be like fires coming out of this place. Damn, that's like a scary show, man. It looks like a movie entirely.
Although the rift is expanding at just 7 millimeters per year, the impact is massive over time. Scientists estimate that in about 10 million years, the rift will become so wide that a new ocean will form, separating East Africa from the rest of the continent.
And also look at this. It also fits perfectly, like as if you're just solving some sort of a puzzle. But a lot of people have been wondering if it's going to stop here, or maybe it just collides here and then half of this part just stays here and then this one splits up, it goes and gets attached to India. And we never know. This could happen. Or it could also get stuck on the northern part. So there could be anything that's going to happen. And this right here is what's going on in Africa right now. Look at that stuff, man. Look at that stuff, man. This is like the half of the gas station and the other half is on the other side. That's crazy looking crack that just opened up. And we can already see there's like smoke coming out of it.
Ago, the ground began to split open in Africa, with fractures opening up across different countries, even splitting a man's house into two.
Wow.
Since then, it's been obvious that Africa is undergoing a continental rift. Such a rift occurs when a continent is set to break into two or more. When this happens, new continents, islands, and oceans will be formed, and our world will never be the same again.
That's one of the most scariest things that I've ever seen so far, because it seems like it's not just Africa that's going to get affected. A lot of different countries are also going to get affected. But at the same time, they've also said that the core of the earth is going to be much more weakened. And most probably that's going to cause a lot of volcanic eruption, not just in Africa. And although it's going to take like 5 to 10 million years from now, I think it's all going to be depending on the kind of speed in which the crack just keeps expanding. But as of now, it seems like, you know, the crack is only expanding in a very tiny portion, but we never know, man. It's nature, and nature is never predictable, that humans can't even predict. And honestly, guys, I would love to hear from you guys. What do you think about everything that's going on in Africa as of now? And if at all this makes a split, do you think that India is going to be keeping this land? Or are we humans even going to be alive until 5 or 10 million years? That's something that we need to ask about. And obviously, when it comes to catastrophes that happens in nature-wise, people usually tend to rely on the religious scriptures. And according to some of the research that we have found, it seems like some of these things are kind of connected to the biblical prophecies. Where in Zechariah chapter 14 verse 4, it describes that the Mount of Olives is going to be split in two, and some will see this as a symbolic or prophetic reference to the land division. And some Christians actually believe that this is going to be some sort of the symbolic representation of what the Bible has been stating, that eventually someday when God stands on the mountain, which is not exactly Africa as far as what the Bible states, but then obviously some Christians believe that this is just some sort of a representation as far as what the Bible says. But also in Isaiah chapter 18, it says that the land is going to be divided by rivers, which some have already interpreted that Africa is the land that Isaiah is talking about. And also if we look at Matthew chapter 24 verse 7, which mentions that there will be a massive earthquake, which is once again being related to the new activities that's happening in the African plains. And in Genesis chapter 10 verse 25, which mentions the Peleg, whose name means division. Some have been speculating that this could reference continental drift that's happening in Africa. But however, from the scientific perspective, it seems like the East African Rift is a real geological phenomenon where Africa is splitting in two, and the process will take millions of years, eventually forming a new ocean. Conclusion is that there is no clear biblical prophecies about Africa splitting, and any connection is just people's own perspectives. Now obviously this leaves us to a very good conclusion that no, it's not part of biblical prophecies, and even if it is, it's still going to take millions of years. And as far as rivers are now turning into blood red color. Today is 13 February 2025, and some of the most deadliest Bible prophecies are now finally coming true. And for the very first time, people who have never believed in God are now finally panicking after witnessing the Bible prophecy coming true. But there is something even more terrifying that's happening right now, which has even made the non-believers seek God for the very first time in the history ever. Now, before we get into what that one thing is that's making people finally believe in God, let's go ahead and take a look at all the prophecies that is currently spreading across the world in 2025. February 7, 2025, in Argentina, the river has officially gone red, which people across Argentina used to use as a drinking water source has now turned into this blood-like red color water, and scientists and officials are currently testing out on what really caused this water to turn into red color. Now, the Bible already states that there is a prophecy that's going to come true where the water is going to be turning into blood red color, and these waters are going to be poisoned where people will not be able to get any drinking water anymore. Where 1/3 of water in the world is going to be poisoned because of this red color phenomenon. Now, what's interesting about this is that it's not just Argentina, but it's also happening in Peru, where on February 4th, in Ramak River has also turned into red blood color. Now, take a look at this footage right here. It definitely seems like there is something crazy going on. Now, obviously, this is not blood, but in fact, a lot of people have been saying that these are some sort of a symbolic signs that God is literally revealing before the second coming of Christ. Now, before we get into all of those details, the water turning red does not just end here, because at the same time, this also took place in Japan, where apparently there was a coolant leak into the water, and the entire river of Japan also ended up turning red blood color. And the same thing happened in Jerusalem, where the water has now turned into red blood color, and scientists have already run some tests on the water, and this is because of the algae that's present in the water that's combined with the iron oxide. So that's probably what is creating this red blood color. But then obviously these are natural phenomena. These are the type of signs that we will most probably be getting during the end times. Now, the list doesn't end here, because the same thing also happened in China, where the government is now claiming it seems like people have been dumping some illegal chemical substances into the water, which is probably why it might have turned into red color, is what the government is saying. But then, of course, it also seems like another sign of 1/3 of all the waters that is turning into red color. Now, what's interesting is that this also happened on February 10th in Iran, in a place called Hormuz Island, where the water has also turned red blood color. So these are all the different parts of the world that are currently able to see water turning into red blood colors. That is also exactly what the Bible says, where it says in Revelation chapter 16 verse 4, "And the third angel poured out his vial upon the river in fountains of water, and they became blood." And at the same time, it also states that the third angel will blow the horn, and there fell a great star from the heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the river and upon the fountains of water. And the name of this star is called wormwood. And the third part of the water became wormwood, and many men died of the water because they were made bitter. Obviously, we've already been seeing the water turning red into blood-like color, but at the same time, NASA has just reported that there is a massive asteroid that is heading towards Earth, and it's going to be hitting Earth in the year 2032. And that's also what the Bible has been stating, that the same thing is going to be happening in a very short time, where there will be a great star that's going to be coming down from heaven, and this massive burning rock is going to be striking Earth, and it's also going to be contaminating all of our waters, where everything is going to be poisoned and we can't drink from these waters anymore. Now take a look at some of the things that people have noticed.
Yesterday. It's February 7th, and another river has turned to blood. And by the way, while these rivers are turning red like blood, there is all sorts of insane stuff happening around the earth that I'm about to show you. And when I say insane, I mean things that...
I mean, look at the entire river. That is literally blood red in color. And that's just not normal, guys.
Don't normally happen. It was cute yesterday when people were trying to say the Peru River turned to blood because iron oxide or something. This one is in Argentina. I told you, you're going to throw out all those baseless claims. This is not normal. And like I told you yesterday, when the waters turn to blood in the Bible, it was always a very fearful thing of God's judgment. Whether we're talking the Exodus or in the Great Tribulation. And while these rivers are turning into blood, we're hearing ridiculous sounds coming from the heavens. Scary sounds. Check them out.
I know, a lot of people have also been saying that they've been claiming that they're hearing sounds from the sky, which kind of sounds like some sort of a trumpet. Now, obviously, we don't know if this is what people are claiming it is, but then take a look at this stuff.
Sounds and owls hooing. It is insane, crazy.
That's crazy.
It's like the whole sky, and they're not like stopping. They don't stop. They just keep... It feels like they...
But then obviously a lot of people would claim that if it is the trumpet from the heaven, then the entire world would hear it. So this kind of just takes this whole thing out of the picture, and this is already proven that it is not the trumpet from heaven, because when the trumpet is blown, everybody in the world is going to be able to hear it. But then before everyone else hears it, people who have already given their lives to Christ are going to be the first ones that will be able to hear this trumpet within their own spiritual nature. And that's where the Bible prophecies are getting interesting, because right now on February 7th, something crazy happened in Antarctica, where nobody ever expected that Antarctica, out of all the places, will also be seeing the same phenomenon happen at the same exact time, where all the rivers are now turning into blood red color. And this obviously is not coincidence. And you know, scientists have already tested out the water, and they say that it's probably because of the iron oxide that's present in the water, that's like combining with the oxygen, and it's probably just creating this whole red blood color. But take a look at what's currently going on in Antarctica, because Antarctica's unusual blood falls is what they call it, which is flowing all the way from glacier into valleys. And these are some of the photos that's been taken, and it literally looks like a blood red color. And it's deep in Antarctica, and they've already named it as the Blood Falls Glacier, which is pouring out crimson water, a haunting sight. Scientists have said that it's probably because of the iron-rich water oxidizing as it meets with the air, and it's probably like rusting out. But there could also be a much deeper meaning to all of this stuff. We have a couple more pictures here where the Bible also speaks about the same thing, where it states that where God will be turning water into blood as a sign of judgment and a call for repentance, which is mentioned in Exodus chapter 7 verse 20 and Revelation chapter 16 verse 4. While this phenomenon has a natural explanation, that it serves as a striking reminder of how creation echoes biblical truth. Now just take a look at this water and tell me how in the world does it not look like blood? And this is happening out of all the places in the world in Antarctica. And everything, the entire glacier water is now turning red in color. Because obviously it's not just about the water turning red, because we have some more crazy things that's also happening at the same time right now. Because just take a look at what scientists have now confirmed is happening to our moon. Because this right here is the official website of NASA, where they have now said that the moon is rusting. And apparently they caught a heat signature image of what the moon currently looks like, and it seems like all of these red spots that you're seeing in the moon, this probably seems like the moon is completely rusting every single year. And over time, it seems like the moon is turning into red color. Just take a look at this video, which is from The Gospel of Love on Instagram, where he actually explains on what's going on with the moon.
This was never supposed to happen. And yes, a biblical deadly event is happening right now to our moon, and there may be nothing left for us very soon. NASA was shocked when a man had taken over 2,000 extremely high-resolution photos of...
Look at that stuff, guys. It's literally just turning into oranges, rustic, reddish color. And that's basically what's happening. And it's also something that the Bible has already predicted.
Spots of the moon turning blood red, and scientists are terrified. The Bible in Joel 2 talks about the sun turning into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and the terrible day of when the Lord comes.
Now, obviously, keep this in mind that God already said that he's going to be turning the moon into blood. Now, that basically means that the moon is going to be turning into red color. So that's kind of the symbolization that God used in order to refer that the moon is going to be turning into blood red. And this could also be the same case for all the water that we are seeing that is currently turning into red blood color as well, because that could also end up being some sort of a symbolization where God said that he's going to turn it into red blood color, and it's going to be some sort of a sign that people are supposed to look at it, and it's going to be a wake-up call in order to strengthen our faith and start repenting for our sins, because we are so close to the final judgment day that is coming up. Because all the evidence are definitely stating that we seem to probably be very close to the final judgment day. The things, however, does not end with just this. Now, the Bible also states that before Jesus comes back, there is going to be a massive sign that the entire world will be able to see that this is indeed one of the biggest prophecies that's coming true, which is the Euphrates River that is now completely drying up. Because this right here is what the Euphrates River used to look like before, but now looking at the way that it's completely getting dried up every single year, this is what was recorded in 2021, and currently in 2025 it looks even more drier than what you're looking at in the picture. Just take a look at what's really going on in the Euphrates River.
The Euphrates River continues to dry up as prophesied within the Bible. This is an amazing footage I came across from 2020 in comparison to 2021 in the same spot. You'll see right now, here's 2020, you'll see how full it is, and you'll see here in a moment.
So this is basically how it looks like in 2020, and over time you'll see how it kind of just completely changes.
Dropped to. Just absolutely seeing Bible prophecy in front of our eyes. And this
so just take a look at this. The water is like all the way up till the roof of this building.
No, will come to pass because of Revelation 16:12, when the sixth angel pours out his vial on the river Euphrates, and the water therefore is dried up, so the kings of the east can be prepared. So that was 2020, and as you can see here, 2021, and the river is completely dried up. We aren't at the part of Revelation where the angels are pouring out their vials, but it's moving towards this.
This is the same location. Like I said, look at this place. It was completely filled with water, and it was filled almost at the roof level of this building, and right now it's completely dry. There is literally barely any water that you can see on the land. This is the current level of what Euphrates River looks like.
God giving a warning for people to actually see that the Bible is real and to get their hearts completely right before the angel pours his vial on the river and it's completely dried up, and the four angels that are bound there are loosed, that will cause absolute havoc upon the earth, as mentioned in Revelation 9:13 through 15.
Now, I don't know how many of you guys have already read the scriptures, but it seems like bad things are going to be happening when the river completely dries up, because some angel is going to be dropping some sort of a vial from heaven in this completely dried up Euphrates River, and that's going to be breaking open the ground. And there are these 3 or 4 fallen angels that God has chained them up all the way down beneath the Euphrates River, and he basically sunk the whole place. That's probably why we had a river for all these years, but now it seems like they are going to get released, and once they do, they're going to be killing killing 1/3 of the entire humankind. It seems like one of the biggest prophecies of all time, the Euphrates River, has now officially come true. Now, obviously, it's just a couple of years from now before this river completely decides to go dry, because this is not only written in the Bible, but it's also in the Quran, and that's like the majority of religion all around the world. Now, it's not just this, guys, because the Bible also prophesies that Israel is going to be finding 3 red heifer cows, which they will be using in order to sacrifice these cows, which are spotless, and they're going to be looking red in color. And obviously, we might think, how's that even possible? How are cows going to look red in color, right? I know, but it seems like that has once again come true as well. Because in Texas, it seems like a Christian cattle farmer noticed that his cow gave birth to exactly 3 red heifers, which are completely spotless and they are red in color. So as soon as they saw these calves, they realized that this is exactly what the prophecies have been saying. And the local church came down to take a visit at these cows, and they saw that, yes, it's exactly what was described in the Bible. So they ended up contacting Israel in order to ship these 3 red heifers all the way to Israel so that the prophecies can be fulfilled. And currently, Israel has the 3 red heifers, which is also mentioned in the Bible, that they're going to be sacrificing these 3 heifers in order to use their ashes in all the equipments that's going to be used when they're going to be building the 3rd temple in Jerusalem. Which obviously we know that there is a massive war going on in Israel, and it's obviously about the religious war, and they're basically trying to take over Gaza, and all of this war that's going on right now is basically all because of this 3rd temple that Israel wants to be constructing, and obviously other reasons are being used in order to indulge between the feud that all of these nations are having. And the main reason is only because they want their promised lands back, and they want to be building the 3rd temple after sacrificing these 3 red heifers and fulfilling the prophecy that is mentioned in the Bible, because they believe that only when they do this, their Messiah is going to be coming back once again, which is the 2nd coming of Jesus Christ. Another very interesting thing that's really happening as of now, this fish right over here, which is a fish that only lives all the way deep inside the ocean. It never comes all the way up to the shore, but for some reason, it seems like this fish, which is known as the black demon, also known as the anglerfish, it is now swimming all the way from deep ocean to the shore side for God knows what reason. It seems like they are afraid of something that's living deep inside the water. But obviously, take a look at this video. It's very interesting.
Like no, because why is the black demon, aka anglerfish, coming up from the depths of the sea? This fish lives 6,000 feet below the surface. It would have taken this fish days to travel to the surface. I mean, true. Days, even weeks maybe, because they get the bends just like we do. Hold on, let's get closer so I can really explain to you why I'm terrified of this. What the fuck is down there in the deep ocean that made this scared?
I mean, look at this stuff, man. It's one of those terrifying predator fish that doesn't come all the way up in the shore. It only lives way deep in the ocean, and it never comes all the way up here because that is just not usual. But apparently it is happening. They seem to be afraid of something, probably just awoke. Some people say that it's the Leviathan, which according to the Bible is a massive serpent that is still alive inside the ocean
and want to come up to the surface. We haven't explored 91% of the ocean. There is no telling what is down there. We've never even been to the deep sea.
That is
because
true.
It's too dark and too cold. Little Mama had, though, and she said, nope, I'm leaving. There are thousands, if not millions, of unknown species in the deep sea. What did she see that made her go to the surface? Because these fish don't, this is the first time ever in history we have seen a live anglerfish, and it didn't live for much longer. She passed away like 2 hours later. Wow. Something terrifying is down there.
And just take a look at what's going on right now. Look at the amount of fish that has literally come out into the ocean. Now tell me, how is all of this even normal? It doesn't look normal, guys. It really doesn't look normal. The sound effect is very terrifying as well. And it definitely seems like they are terrified of something that's all the way deep down. And it's not just the normal fish, right? Because obviously when it comes to normal fish, people might think it's just some sort of, heavy wave that just pulled them all the way down here. Why is the one fish, the species which never comes all the way up to the shore, coming all the way to the shore? And if you type this exact coordinates, which I will leave down below in the description or in the pinned comments, then you will come across a massive sea creature that a lot of people have been claiming is known to be the Leviathan. Now just take a look at this stuff. If you zoom all the way down here, this is where the location is going to be taking you. Now just simply zoom out a little bit. You know, it's all the way near Antarctica, by the way. And if you zoom it out a little bit slowly, you'll notice that there is some sort of a massive serpent head that you can literally see. Now this was something that was never seen before, and scientists are claiming that it's just nothing, it's just a rock, just a mountain, nothing to worry about. But obviously we know that the government doesn't allow us to even see what's going on in Antarctica. They have pretty much just blocked this whole location out of the Google Earth or Google Maps. You can't see anything that's going on behind the walls of Antarctica. That's the eyes, right? This is like the one eye and the second eye, and then this literally looks like a massive serpent face, man. And this thing just came out of the water slight bit, and it's probably what a lot of people are saying, that, you know, it seems like the fish and the species that are living underwater kind of just felt the presence. Very similar to what we see in the Godzilla movie, because they fear this massive titan that is coming out of water after all these years. So that's probably what a lot of people are saying. And, you know, even the most terrific species on water, which lives all the way deep down, is actually scared of something that's living underneath. And even the non-believers are terrified of something that's currently going on, which the Bible claims is the 7 trumpets. There will be signs that's going to be shown across the world. Now the first trumpet basically states that when it is blown, green grass and 1/3 of the trees are going to be completely burned up. And this was mentioned in Revelation chapter 8 verse 7. And just take a look at what's already been going on in the California fire, Los Angeles fire. Everything basically just burned down. Obviously I know a lot of people are going to be saying it's just the American thing, you know, it's not something that's happening all around the world. But you also need to take a look at what's actually happening in the Amazon rainforest.
Has been burning for 3 weeks, sending cities up to 1,700 miles away into darkness. Images emerged on Monday of Sao Paulo in the afternoon, black.
And just take a look at how everything is literally just burned down. Like half of the forest is literally burned down. Look at this whole thing.
Turned day into night in São Paulo.
And this is how the Amazon rainforest looks like on the map itself. It's completely burned down. Like 50% of it is completely burned down, and we can't really do anything about it. So obviously the Bible prophecies are coming true in terms of what the first trumpet has already mentioned, that 1/3 of Earth's green grass and trees are going to end up being burnt. And on the second trumpet, the thing that we're going to be seeing is that 1/3 of sea and river and waters are going to become blood red in color, and 1/3 of ships and sea life are also going to be destroyed. That sea and rivers and lakes are now turning into red blood color. And that is the sign that we're going to be seeing after the second trumpet is going to be blown, which means that we already have seen that the first trumpet is already blown, and we already faced all of those consequences, and now we're heading towards the second trumpet, and we're already seeing all the different signs. And the third trumpet is even more deadlier, because the third trumpet says that the 1/3 of water is going to turn bitter. And how is that going to happen? Well, the Bible also states that there's going to be something, a star, that is going to be landing on Earth, which is going to contaminate the entire water source. Now, obviously, NASA has already confirmed that there is going to be a massive asteroid that's heading towards Earth. And currently, it's said that there are chances of this asteroid crashing on Earth in the year 2032. So probably the asteroid could be one of those signs, or maybe it's not the asteroid, maybe it's something else as well. But it seems like the water is going to get contaminated, and we will have a massive issue for drinking water all over the world. And on the fourth trumpet, it gets even more crazier, because 1/3 of sun and moon is going to be shut off, pretty much like an eclipse where you're not going to be having any sunlight. And also it said the moon is going to be turning red in color. Now obviously we've already seen that the moon is rusting. Now it's not completely red in color, but then over time, over the years, I'm pretty sure that the moon is going to be turning red in color. So that's probably what we're going to be witnessing on the fourth trumpet. On the fifth trumpet, it seems like locusts are going to be coming down, which are like these creatures that kind of just eat up every single field, which the Bible states that it's some sort of an insect that kind of has a face like a beast. It's going to be eating up 1/3 of all the crops across the world, and we humans are going to be starving with no food supply, and we're not going to have any agriculture that's going to be working well. And that's basically going to leave us humans with no food and a lot of starvation and a lot of issues with how countries are going to be able to manage in terms of getting supplies with all of these locusts just flying across the world and destroying almost 1/3 of all of our food supply. And on the 6th trumpet, we're going to be seeing a 200 million man army, which will be marching across this field called the Armageddon. Now, for those of you guys who don't know what Armageddon is, it's basically this field which is located near Israel, in which the Bible says that the Antichrist will be forming an organization, and this is going to be the organization who will combine their forces, and they will have over 200 million soldiers during the end days, and this is going to be like the final battle. Now, take a look at what's currently going on with the BRICS formation, which is exactly done by 5 of the most powerful countries in the world, which is number 1, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. So these are supposed to be like the 5 kings, and beneath them they also have 7 different nations of alliance, and now they call it as the G7 summit, where the G7 stands for the group of 7 nations. And that is basically something we have already read in the Bible, which means that the war that is going to be taking place in the Armageddon field is going to be done with the help of this group, which a lot of people are already suspecting that it is indeed the BRICS, and they currently have over 200 million soldiers. And with BRICS combining all of their army and all of their soldiers, this means that they have over 200 million soldiers. I think it's basically going to be fulfilling the Bible prophecy of end times. And I just love how accurate the whole thing is, because the Bible says that it's going to be 5 kings and 7 nations from the east that are going to be marching all the way to the Armageddon battle, and that's exactly what BRICS is all about. On the 7th...
Tonight, Pope Francis remains in critical condition at Rome's Gemelli Hospital. Vatican officials say he is still getting supplemental oxygen to help him breathe.
Something crazy is happening in Vatican right now. It seems like the Antichrist is now finally ready to reveal himself to the world. Now, as we know, Vatican has already confirmed that Pope Francis is currently in an extremely critical condition, and he has already been diagnosed with bronchitis, and currently Pope Francis says that his end is finally here, and he also asked Vatican to prepare for his funeral, because now Vatican is about to be choosing a brand new pope. Now, if you guys know anything about the book of Daniel's prophecies, then I'm sure that you're already terrified of what is currently happening, because everything that was said in the prophecy is now officially coming true. Because according to Daniel's prophecy and Revelations, it's already mentioned after the final pope.
Very soon we will all see the building of the 3rd temple in Jerusalem.
The table of showbread is ready. The menorah is ready. All of the golden pieces are ready. The 3rd temple is ready.
Just recently, the Sanhedrin, a Jewish religious authority, has called all Jews around the world to return to the Holy Land, and they should be ready to build the 3rd temple.
It is finally happening, guys. Jerusalem has officially announced that they are building the 3rd Solomon temple. If this happens, the prophecy of the second coming of Jesus has now officially begun. Now, this update was given to us by Israel Heritage Foundation, where they basically run all the religious operations. And now they've announced something so big that the entire world is now terrified to see what's going to be happening next.
That very soon we will all see the building of the 3rd temple in Jerusalem.
The table of showbread is ready.
Oh my God.
The menorah is ready. All of the golden pieces are ready. The 3rd temple is ready.
Our job to bring and to build the 3rd temple.
They're also planning to slaughter 5 red cows. That paves the way for the building of the 3rd temple, replacing the Dome of the Rock.
The red heifers imported from Texas in 2022 are now 3 years old, which means they are ready for a purification ritual according to the Torah. This makes them eligible for the ceremony needed for the 3rd temple preparation. But why the Jews are very silent about it? Well, actually, they're not silent. The leak information from the Temple Institute officials officials. The red heifer ceremony will take place in the Passover holiday 2025.
So it's going to happen in holiday of 2025. Before we head further and learn about the third temple, for those of you who don't know about the red heifers, and according to the scriptures from the Torah, Bible, as well as Quran, and also the Jewish culture, it is already prophesied 5 red heifers will be sacrificed before building the third Solomon temple. And before this happens, God already said there will be red cows that are going to be born somewhere in the world. And luckily, this ended up happening in Texas, which was then informed to the Christian authorities, and they informed it to Jerusalem, and they examined this cow, and it seems like it matches the exact descriptions as to what is mentioned in the Bible's end times prophecy, that there will be these cows that are born, and these cows are going to be used in order to sacrifice them in this place where they're basically going to kill the cows, they're going to burn it, and they're going to use the ashes of these cows in order to cleanse all the tools which are going to be used in order to build the third temple. Now, without cleansing the tools with these ashes, you cannot build the third temple. So now that you've gotten this part of the story, let's go ahead and take a look at what they have to say further on.
Just recently, the Sanhedrin, a Jewish religious authority, has called all Jews around the world to return to the Holy Land, and they should be ready to build the third temple.
And we have passed it, that all Jews around the world have an obligation, I feel right now, to do whatever is in their power to come to Eretz Israel, and that is the mitzvah of the Torah, and that is...
So it seems like they're giving time for all the Israels around the world, so that they're informing them in advance, so that no matter what kind of situation you're going through in the world, they are supposed to be present for this event that's going to be taking place all around the world. So they are supposed to travel back to Israel, to Jerusalem, in order to witness one of the most important prophecies that is now taking place, in order to, you can also say, as activate the second coming of Christ. Because according to the scriptures, only when this Passover happens, we will be beginning the revelation period. That's where Antichrist is going to be showing up.
The Sanhedrin has also called for global participation in the rebuilding of the third temple.
Oh, they even call him Putin.
They have reached out to world leaders, including Russian President Vladimir Putin and the current U.S. President Donald Trump, urging them to support the rebuilding the third temple. Not only that, the Sanhedrin has reached out to the Arab world, especially those descended from Ishmael, inviting them to join in the rebuilding of the third temple. This invitation is inspired by Isaiah's prophecy, which says the sons of Ishmael will bring gifts and support the temple's construction.
So the sons of Ishmael, for those of you guys who don't know, they are the Middle East guys. They are basically the Middle Eastern guys, and according to the scriptures, the sons of Ishmael will visit Israel on this event, and they'll also bring a lot of gifts in order to share the happiness that's going to take place, where they're going to be sacrificing the red heifers and beginning the final days of revelation. That it is the second coming of Christ himself.
But the Arab world didn't respond very well. The relationship between Arab countries and Israel has been quite strained recently. That's where the issue is. Even countries that had normalized relations with Israel, like the UAE, are facing internal and regional pressure due to the ongoing conflict. However, the construction of Third Temple had actually begun months ago in secret.
So that's the thing, right? Israel never really told us about this information, but it seems like they've already started building this stuff in a very secretive way, because obviously it's going to be very controversial if they kind of reveal this information. There is going to be like massive outscale war, and obviously I think that's probably why there was like Israel war that took place right now as well, and that's also part of the prophecies, right? The prophecy has already been fulfilled. Israel already destroyed Gaza. They took over everything, and they are now in control of the mountaintop where Al-Aqsa Mosque is present, as well as the Jerusalem is present. So in order to build this temple, what's interesting is that they need to destroy the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and that's not going to be favored by most of the Arabs as well as most of the Muslims around the world, because this eventually means that they will have to break the Mosque of Muhammad, and that's not something the Muslims are going to take lightly, and this is definitely going to be causing like a major outscale war as well, and this could eventually start a full-scale World War III as well. So this is of course a major possibility if they start building the third temple after destroying the Al-Aqsa, but then it seems like they're doing it in a very secretive way, so we don't know how things are going to work out. But as of now, they don't have a very good relationship with the Arabs, and that's something that a lot of people are concerned about. But they did not expose it on the internet.
They have learned that since they brought 5 red heifer to the Holy Land, they have captured the attention of Muslim, not only in Palestine and Middle East, but also around the world.
That's true. A lot of Muslims are keeping an eye out because they might end up destroying the Al-Aqsa Mosque anytime, any second, and that's going to start a full-scale war, like I said, because Muslims don't want this place destroyed. Christians and the Jews and everybody, they're just looking forward to it, because only if the third temple gets built, that's when the second coming of Christ is going to begin. So that's something that Ezekiel already prophesied, that he has already seen, that the third temple is going to get built no matter what. So that's eventually going to happen. happen. And he also prophesies that Israel is going to be on a massive war where they will win the war. At the same time, they'll also be losing the war and they will once again get chased out of their country. But then God will make them win this war and they will get back to their place and they will finally get their promised land. And this is where the most scariest prophecy is coming true, because it seems like, according to the prophecy, Israel is going to be taking support of some major nation, and the leader that's going to be supporting Israel in order to build this third temple is going to be controlled by the Antichrist, or he could be the Antichrist himself, and he's just going to play this role of being a best friend with Israel. And after they've completed the construction of the third temple, that's when he's going to come to power. And then there's going to be a new world order where the entire world is going to bow down to this one leader. And apparently there is not going to be any government left. There's not going to be any countries that are split up. It's just going to be like one government and then one leader. And this one guy, he is going to reveal himself as the Antichrist, and he's going to call himself as the God. He's going to sit on the throne inside the third Solomon temple, and that's what the prophecy says. Now, the interesting part is that Zionist Jews have already confirmed that they are going to be starting up the third temple's construction very soon in the holidays of 2025. And this is apparently the red heifers that they're going to be sacrificing. This is like the baby pigs of the red heifers. And for a lot of people who don't understand what's really going to be happening with the prophecies coming true, this is going to start the revelation period that's mentioned in the Bible. One of the most scariest parts of the entire Bible is the revelation, because what's going to happen in this time is the most deadliest time period to ever be alive if you're not saved by the Lord and Savior. Now, Trump's secretary Pete Hegseth also recently spoke about the third temple, which is going to be rebuilt in Jerusalem, and he called it as the next Israel annexation of the West Bank. With Trump in charge as the president, Hegseth declared that Israel should do what needs to be done, which means that Trump is in full support in order to build this third temple. Now, that's what's scary, because we never know, because according to the scriptures, it seems like the person who's going to be supporting Israel in order to build the temple is going to be Antichrist. Now, of course, there are going to be many different nations that's going to support, but then we don't exactly know who that Antichrist is until he reveals himself. But take a look at what his secretary has to say about the situation.
And today, Jennifer and I and others had a chance to go see the Western Wall of the Temple Mount, the Western Wall tunnels, so much of the old city. And as you stand there, you can't help but behold the miracle before you. And it got me thinking about another miracle that I hope all of you don't see too far away. Because 1917 was a miracle. 1948 was a miracle. 1967 was a miracle. 2017, the declaration of Jerusalem as the capital was a miracle. And there's no reason why the miracle of the reestablishment of the temple on the Temple Mount is not possible.
That is true. That is true. If all of these things have already come true, then why wouldn't this happen as well? And that's definitely going to happen.
I don't know how it would happen. You don't know how it would happen.
But then it's going to happen.
Could happen. That's all I know. And a step in that process, a step in every process, is the recognition that facts and activities on the ground truly matter. And that's why going and visiting Judea and Samaria, understanding that sovereignty, the very sovereignty of Israeli soil, and Israeli cities, locations, is a critical next step to showing the world that this is the land for Jews and the land of Israel. And I believe...
This is going to be crazy, because every single prophecy from Israel becoming a nation in 1948, and then Jerusalem becoming the capital of Israel, and then there was this Israel war that started happening in 2018, which also came true once again in 2023, 2024, and 2025. There's like major all-scale war, and Israel basically ended up winning the war. They destroyed Hamas, and that's basically the political side of things. But if you look at what's the real cause of these war that's happening around in the Middle East, is basically for the religious purpose, where they're trying to build a third temple. They need to claim back their lands, but then they were unable to do it for all these years, which is promised by God to the people of Israel. And it seems like Trump has always been strongly believing that this whole thing is going to eventually happen. And in 2025, it's happening. And trust me, guys, Revelation is not something that's supposed to be taken lightly. If you haven't read your Bible, now is the time. You should at least go ahead and read the chapter of Revelation and some of the prophecies prophecies that's actually coming true. And for those of you guys who don't know that prophecies have already come true, I just made this video yesterday. Make sure to go ahead and check out this video in particular, because it's going to give you guys like the full information about all the prophecies that has now officially come true before we take the first step into Revelation after the Jews build the third temple. Now, Nick here updates us about the situation of red heifers, and it seems like the red heifers are going to be ready for sacrifice by September of 2025, which is the holidays of 2025, and it'll take about 42 months in order to complete the construction of the third holy temple. And 42 months means that the temple is going to be completed in the month of March or April of 2029. And what's interesting is that the person that's going to be supporting in order to build the third temple, which is America and President Trump, where it is also going to be the same month where Trump is going to be completing his second term as president at the White House. And that is also the perfect time when the new leader that's going to be supporting Israel is going to arrive. But it definitely seems like he could end up being Antichrist. The world is waiting for it, because whoever is going to be supporting Israel in this endeavor in order to build the temple is definitely going to be the one. So it's a very interesting timeline that we're going to live in. All the prophecies are coming true, and definitely this is one of the most craziest prophecies that is currently happening right now. Let me know down below in the comments if you have anything to share about the revelation. You really ask every single one of you guys that have already been a Christian or a believer to go ahead and share some of the wisdom down below in the comments, because there's always people that are trying to understand what's going on, and they're basically new to all of these things that's going on. They've never read the Bible or Quran or any scriptures, so they're not really aware or updated about what's really going on. So if you guys could just go ahead and help them out in the comments, that would really make a lot of difference. So I hope you guys do your part in the comments down below. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. Please make sure to go ahead, drop a like on this video, because if you like this video, the video is going to get recommended to more people, and more people are going to learn about the truth of what's really going on around the world. So your support is absolutely appreciated, because every time I notice 60% of the guys, they just watch the video, they don't interact, they don't like the video nor dislike the video, they just watch it and move on without any interaction. So I would really appreciate it if you guys could just take a few seconds of your valuable time by dropping a like. It really goes a long way. It helps the channel, it helps the video get more attention, and in order to reach more people. So you're doing a major part in order to spread the good word. And with that being said, if you guys want to see more content like these, make sure to go ahead, subscribe to the channel, turn the notifications on, and I will see you guys on the next one. Till then, take it easy, fams, and goodbye.